Welcome to Looking for the Lost, a podcast dedicated to spotlighting missing and murdered cases and bringing clues to cold cases through psychic detective work.
All right. Hello, everybody out there listening to us, and welcome to Looking for the Lost, a podcast. You may be listening to us in podcast land, or you may be watching us on our YouTube channel. Either way, we are so happy that you're here with us today. This is our first official show, so it's very exciting. Yay. And let me just give you an introduction real quick of who's here working today. We have the lovely Jeane July and Asia Kim. And today we have a really cool lineup for you. We're going to be talking about the Beaumont Children. Now, there is a ton of information out there on them. This is a very cold case, happened in the 1960s. So we're going to be talking and taking a little bit of a dive into psychic detective work on that case. And then at the end, Jeane is going to introduce us to a lovely little girl named Shy'Kemmia Pate. And I'm just going to let Jeane talk a little bit about Shy'Kemmia before we get started. And then we'll be ready to rock and roll this.
Thank you, Kay. Hi. So our spotlight, which we will be talking about more in length and also having a presentation, is about Shy'Kemmia Pate. This was a 7-year-old girl who'd been missing since 1998 in a small town in Georgia. And so there's not been any kind of lead to what has happened to her. Her family is still looking for her after these years. And the case is about 33 years old now. So, 34 almost at this time. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the statistics of children who are missing, children of color who have been missing, and the attention that they are not getting in media. And that's what we're going to talk about.
But I think it might be a good idea as we move into our next segment with the Beaumont Children, for our listeners out there who might not be familiar with the distinction, since we are working as psychic detectives here for this work, maybe, Kay, you could give a little bit of an explanation as to the difference between what is a psychic and what is a medium.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that there is a confusion out there. For us who are psychics or mediums, it's very plain and simple. But for those who aren't, it is confusing, and we often think they are one and the same. And in a way, they are, but they're not. So how are they different? Psychic, the word psychic, simply means of the soul. And what that means is psychics work from the soul, mediums work from the soul as well. But it's a soul-to-soul reading with those who are living on this plane at the moment. So if you go and see a psychic, the reading is going to be all about you, the one who's living. Now, if you're interested in talking with your loved ones who are in the spirit world, that's when you would go to a medium. The medium works soul to soul, just like the psychic, except the soul that they're working with is the soul in the spirit world. And those types of readings should be all about the spirit communicator, your loved one who has come to talk with you. So that's really it. Psychics work with the living, mediums work with those who are in the spirit world. And I will say this, not all psychics go on to become a medium, but all mediums must be a psychic because they use the psychic faculties in order for them to do the work as a medium. So the psychic aspects of our soul is our foundation that allows us to continue to grow and become a medium. I hope that makes some sense.
Oh, great explanation. It's very clear.
Very good explanation. If I can throw just a little something in there about how in psychic work that certain tools are used, such as spirit art pendulums and tarot cards, all those things. Some psychics use these tools in order to help them to give a reading on the person.
Right.
In the events. Yes.
Absolutely. And as a psychic detective, for the most part, all of our work is done on a psychic level, working with our own soul, trying to gain information for the most part.
So
Great.
just remember that you are the tool if you are the psychic, right, Kay?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're the tool even if you're working as a medium as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Because most of it comes from the soul. Most of it, yeah.
So that leads us into our next segment, our cold case.
Right. Yes. So today we're going to be talking about the Beaumont Children. And the Beaumont Children is a very famous cold case in the southern part of Australia near Adelaide. There's been all kinds of speculation of these three beautiful siblings who just vanished without a trace. They've never been able to find any kinds of leads really to help them find them. So let me just give you a little bit of information about them. It was a blistering hot day in Glenelg, Australia. Glenelg is the suburb of Adelaide and has a lovely beach area that was frequented by the Beaumonts. It was less than 2 kilometers from the Beaumont home, and it was normal for Jeane, who was 9 at the time and the oldest of the 3 children, to take the bus with her younger siblings, Arnna, who was 7, and Grant, who was 4, to the beach for a few hours alone. January 26, 1966 was no different. Jane's mother, Nancy, had given her enough money to pay for the bus fare and grab a bite to eat for lunch. She watched her 3 children board the bus and waved goodbye to them for the last time. The children had strict instructions to not talk to strangers and come back on the noon bus. At 1 p.m., Nancy became worried her children hadn't gotten off the bus and made it home. Her husband, Jim, a traveling salesman, had come home early. She had told him the children hadn't made it home. After much searching on their own with no luck, around 6 p.m., they decided to call the police to report them missing. Search parties were put in place. The news reported them across the airways, and many witnesses came forward to report sightings of the children. Their local postman spoke to the children on the corner of Mosley Street and Jetty Road. He said hello to them. They proceeded to walk across towards Winsel's Pie Shop. Grant turned to wave and wish the postman a good day. The shopkeeper at Winsel's Pie Shop knew the children and noted on this day things were off. Jeane always only had coins to pay for their pastries, but she had a £1 note. A £1 note was a lot of money for a child to carry around. Jeane also asked for a meat pie, which she had never bought before. She also asked for the meat pie to be put in a separate sack and stated the meat pie was for the man. The shopkeeper and the local postman were the last 2 people who actually knew the children that saw and spoke to them. There are accounts of children playing in a park near the beach with a man who was tall, thin, and had blonde hair. They were also seen with this man at the Collie Reserve. The man was wearing swimming trunks and had no bags with belongings. Through the years, there have been several people of interest who might be the tall, thin, blonde-haired man. The police were unable to find evidence to link any suspect to the children.
Well,
I know.
yeah, well, I do know that it in public knowledge that there were 6 suspects, as you had mentioned, and one was author Stanley Brown. The other was Bevan Spencer von Einem, Alan Anthony Monroe, Harry Phipps, James Ryan O'Neill, who was actually born Lee Anthony Bridgart, and Derek Ernest Percy. But today, we're going to focus on 2 of those suspects that the 3 of us had gotten. We did our own psychic work, and we had focused on the 2. And one is Alan Anthony Monroe, and the second is Harry Phipps. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And so these were just 2 suspects that kind of raised some eyebrows with us.
Yes.
That made us say to ourselves, I'd like to learn a little bit more about this person. I'd like to delve a little bit deeper into who this person is and how may they be involved with the kidnappings or with the disappearance of these children, because we don't know really if they were kidnapped.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
So, where do we start, ladies? Who do we want to talk about first? Alan Anthony Monroe or Harry Phipps?
Now, I would like to talk about Alan Anthony Monroe. And the reason I would like to speak about him is that I did receive some spirit art. And I did not know who this image was of. So I went into the internet and started looking to see if this image was connected perhaps to the Beaumont Children, because that was where my intention was focused. And so I was scrolling through and I came across a picture of Anthony Allen Monroe. Now, he does not look really like this image that I received, but something about that image just stopped me. I just felt it was a very powerful feeling. And I just looked at him and I felt a very big, it almost felt like, this is the one, stop. And I don't know what that meant, because I don't know if he is the one or not. And he didn't look like the picture. That was a little interesting to me. So I kept diving a little bit deeper. And then I found out that Alan Anthony Monroe had a friend. And he had a friend named Max McIntyre. And apparently, as I dug a little bit deeper into the known information about both of these men, I found that they were considered suspects, that the children of Max McIntyre have stated, some of their the children, I should say, not all, but 2 of the children of Max McIntyre stated that they believed that their father was involved with the kidnapping of the Beaumont children.
Can we talk about what you've got this? I just want to back up just a bit. So you drew this photo, and you feel that this photo is connected to Alan Monroe's friend, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. And the photo that you guys are looking at, you're seeing 2 different photos there. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because just, literally 15 minutes prior to taping, I sat down, connected, and said, let me draw somebody that is connected to the Beaumont Children case. And you'll see that my photo is the one with the black background, the dark background, and Asia's photo is the one with the light background. But you can see the similarities.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can. Yes,
The
you
the
can.
parting of the hair, you
The
know,
nose,
the nose, the eyes.
even in the eyes and the eyebrows.
Yeah.
There's just and
The mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the
absolutely.
shape, even the shape of the face, where the shape of the chin and the angle in which that goes. That I found really interesting. That picture just almost knocked me over when I saw it, Kay, because you guys had not seen my sketch. We showed it to each other, and this is what we got independently.
Independently. And actually, to be honest, you guys, I dropped mine on the floor and just went, because I had drawn another photo and gotten a different photo. And so when I did, days ago, but then when I did this one, I just kind of dropped it because I thought, 2-minute sketch. What am I going to do with it? And then when you showed yours, I was like, hang on, let me show you the one that I just drew. So when we get something that crosses like this, it definitely, as psychic detectives, it raises our eyebrows again, because we're like, you drew this photo, and I drew a very similar photo, and we both had the intent to connect with the Beaumont Children when we did the drawings separately, unknowns what the other one was drawing. So that makes us want to go, who is this person that we drew? How are they connected?
And it did strike me, which is why I continue to have an interest in Alan Monroe and Max McIntyre perhaps working together, because I found some photos of Max McIntyre, and there is a very strong resemblance between the sketch and his actual picture. So I found that to be quite interesting. It's not definitive, but there's definitely a resemblance.
Now, when you psychically move into the image, what kinds of information are you picking up? Have you picked up any, when you did the drawing, Aisha, did you psychically link in? And if yes, did you pick up any information?
When Spirit has me sketch, I just pick up the pad, I begin to draw, and the image starts to manifest itself through me.
Right.
And so I did pick up that it just didn't feel like a very nice person. It was kind of a just an off energy of that person. And I can't put my finger on it, but it just didn't feel like a nice guy.
Yeah. When I was drawing mine, I felt I was with someone younger. I didn't feel I was with adult 30 or older. I didn't feel that. I felt I was with someone much younger when I was drawing that. That's why I'm asking.
Actually, when I was going through and I located the photo of Alan Anthony Monroe, that is the one that struck me very powerfully, where I really got a strong feeling from it. That image where he looks like he's having so much fun, he looks like a really playful guy. I just felt that he had a childlike kind of attitude about him.
Anthony Monroe,
that playfulness that he had. And I saw that playfulness. And then as I look back over the case, they were talking about the kids were playing with an adult.
Yeah.
And one thing leads to the next. It's not necessarily a definitive thing. And I know that it's not necessarily what it is. I'm not going to say this is the guy, but I felt something from him that I didn't feel from any of the other pictures of other suspects that I saw.
Okay.
I felt something very strongly between him and the photo of Max McIntyre that resembles my sketch
Yeah.
and your sketch.
Well, we know that Alan Anthony Monroe was a former scoutmaster. We know that he pled guilty to 10 child sex offenses between 1962 and 1983 in the Glenelg area. Those are all things that are in the media. In 1992, he was convicted of indecent assault on an 11-year-old boy. We also know through the media that in 2009, he moved to Cambodia and became involved in charities for an orphanage of Cambodians. Now, in 2017, the Adelaide detectives were given a copy of a child's diary written in 1966. And I think you were about to talk about that, Asia. Is that correct?
Yes, I would like to talk about that diary because it was written at the time and it has a lot of incriminating information and details.
A lot.
A lot.
Wow.
Wow. So interesting. All things to keep in mind that, he could be a possibility there. Now let's talk about Harry Phipps. And I really would like to focus on what did we discover on a psychic level? And then once we've talked about what we got on a psychic level, we can go over what's out there in the media.
Right. Right.
Okay. So who wants to start there?
Well, I'll start.
Okay.
I was picking up, as far as the suspect, a gentleman who was in his 30s, but actually he was older than he looked. And the feeling I got about this suspect is that he was a serial molester, but he had this persona of being very congenial, very nice, very charming. I picked up blue eyes, and I also was feeling this was a family man who had a double life. As far as occupation, he was in some type of sales, retail, something of that sort. He was a smoker, but also clean dressed, had really nice clothes, very, very nice. But I also felt that he lived in the neighborhood or near the neighborhood of the beach.
Right.
Also, he traveled a lot, and he had these urges.
It's interesting that you mention all of those things because that's very similar to what I was picking up as well. I felt he was quite debonair. I felt that he had a sophistication about him in the public eye, but I did feel that on a more personal, private side of him, we were looking at a completely different person. When I went into that energy of him, I didn't like it. I didn't feel comfortable with him. It didn't set well with me. I didn't want to stay there long because it wasn't pleasant. But I did feel that whoever the children were with, I felt that they were quite comfortable with this person. I didn't get a sense that they were scared or that they felt that they were in danger. I felt a playfulness that was going on between the person and the children. It just felt that it was natural for the all involved. It felt natural. But I didn't like the other side of this man. I definitely felt that he was. I kept hearing a couple of things that I kept hearing with him, because what I did when I was working on this, I actually went inside the bakery with the children and were observing the children. And that's where I felt that they weren't afraid, they felt comfortable, that sort of thing. But then coming outside, I feel that the man was waiting for them outside, he didn't go into the bakery with them. He was outside, even more like on a corner there, and was walking with them. And I followed as they were walking. And that's when I started to really get this uneasy feeling with this gentleman. But I could hear jingling. I'm not sure what it was that I was hearing, but I could hear jingling. And I kept hearing, I kept hearing the sound of church bells as well. I couldn't quite understand why did I keep hearing church bells, but I could hear church bells ringing. So those were some of the things that I was getting with him. Anybody else get anything on a psychic level?
I would like to add to that also. I felt that another house, like he owned another house. There was another place, like even though he lived in the neighborhood or near the neighborhood, I felt there was a location, another home of some sort. Someplace else.
Do you feel that this person is a wealthy person or somebody?
I felt he was a businessman.
I felt business.
Yeah, because I felt the retail or sales. It was something to do with the exchange of money, but in a business-like setting.
Yeah, I
and
felt.
So the whole clean shaven, because I felt this man was clean shaven and dressed well.
Yeah,
and as I said earlier, charismatic and, schmoozer, actually. It's like I felt like he was a schmoozer. So he knew how to groom. He knew how to groom.
And I think he knew how to manipulate people in general. That's the feeling that I got with him. So if he's able to manipulate adults, manipulating children would be very, very easy for him, I believe. Yeah.
Right.
Aisha.
When I focused on the general, not the specific, not the feeling that I got about the perpetrator was that it was somebody. He wasn't dirtying his own hands necessarily. I got a strong feeling that there may have been more than one. It's possible there may be more than one person involved, that there may be someone, because the person that I felt that was with the children, because I did do a shamanic journey. And so I did come into the place and time when the children were on the beach. And I saw them with the man. And I also saw that, yes, I think that manipulation thing that you were saying, Kay, really has validity, because the sense that I got, he was leaning into towards one of the children. I believe the smaller one girl, so it may have been Arnna, but he was leaning into one of the children and complimenting her. Complimenting her, telling her how smart she was and how mature she was and things like that. And it didn't give me a good feeling. But that was what, and you could see, it was something that was affecting her, making her feel really good about herself. So that idea of the grooming and that type of thing, I feel that you guys were definitely hitting on something. I was feeling the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we put out what we were getting psychically, I was being pulled to one of the suspects, which was Harry Phipps.
I was too.
Yeah.
I was pulled.
Yeah. So with Harry, he was a local factory owner and a member of the social elite of Adelaide. So he, so basically he was probably a member of the Chamber of Commerce and all those things. His son had identified him as a satin man. Now, where that name came from was a publication of after he was suspected of being one of the perpetrators. There was a book that came out called The Satin Man, Uncovering the Mystery of the Missing Beaumont Children. Now, the thing is, he does strike a resemblance of the description that the people on the beach said that they saw as far as the man that they were with. And he was around 6 feet tall, light brown hair, and thin face. Also, he was known, which you mentioned earlier, Kay, to give out £1 notes.
Yep.
Okay, to people. And he had his, he also had, pedophile tendencies. It was alleged that he had pedophile tendencies, and he lived about 300 meters away from the beach on the corner of Augusta Street and Sus Street. And he was, now the thing is that they said he was 48 years old at the time of the disappearance. But his son, Hayden, who was 15 at the time of the disappearance, came forward to claim he had seen the children in his father's yard that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and he's, there's been an awful lot of information out there. Since I did my psychic stuff, I did a deep dive into doing some armchair detective work there, just see what else was out there about him in the media. He didn't live too far from the beach. Actually, I think it was there's conflicting reports. One report I saw was 300 meters. Another report was 190 meters from the Kali Reserve. What I did learn also was that the man on the beach didn't have any belongings with him, which makes you wonder, if he'd had no belongings with him, how did he get to the beach? If he didn't have car keys, then he must have walked.
right.
And being only 190 meters, 300 meters, whichever one is correct, from the beach, that's not that far.
Right.
That's not that far. So he could have easily had walked there. It's also not that far, I think about 200 meters from the last known location where the children were seen at Wenzel's pie shop. And he's just a straight walk from there to his house.
Yeah.
So it's not that far.
Right.
So that makes you kind of, and some other stuff that came out was that he definitely had, growing up, he did not have a good life. And he got the name from the Satin Man because as a child, his mother would make satin dresses and dress him up in these satin dresses. And he owned a business, and at that business there was a cottage, and that cottage was off limits to everyone except for him. And it is alleged that in this cottage she would dress in his gowns,
Okay.
these satin gowns, even as an adult, that carried on and went on into his adulthood, the satin gowns. But as a child, it's reported, allegedly, that he was abused by his father. His father was quite controlling and manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at the interview with his son Hayden reports that he too, allegedly, there's no proof to this, but he alleges that his father sexually abused him growing up, and that he would wear the satin gowns. So that's where the Satin Man, the book, that's how it got that title. That's what
Right.
Hayden alleges.
Right.
Yes, wow. So, it's like we've got these two people here, and both of them have a lot of circumstantial evidence that points at that direction. That makes us kind of go, which one is it? Who could we point, and lean heavier towards one or the other? So, in our next show that we do on the Beaumont Children, part 2, we're going to take a look at the forensic astrology and see what do the stars say about that day, and see if maybe we can get some information that leans us more towards one or the other. So I'm really looking forward to doing that.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. So yes, we have to continue this.
Yes, we're not done with the Beaumont Children yet.
We're not done. We're not done. Oh,
no.
So many twists and turns in this case.
Just so many.
Yes, indeed. Oh. Yeah. God bless them.
So let's just wrap this show up, and I'm going to turn this over to Jeane, and she's going to give us a little bit of information about the beautiful Shy'Kemmia.
Yeah. So Shy'Kemmia has been missing since 1998 in September. And as before, as I stated, her family is still looking for her. So we're going to spotlight her today and take a look at our PowerPoint presentation.
Unadilla is a small town in Georgia in Dooley County. Highways 41 and 401 run through it. It's 43 miles south of Macon, Georgia from I-75, with an estimated population of 3,626. Much of the demographic population is African American. The average median income is between $22,000 and $25,000. A little over 50% live below the poverty line. On September 4th, 1998, 8-year-old Shy'Kemmia Pate planned on attending a high school football game with her older sister, LaSwanda Hickey, who was a senior and a member of the ROTC. LaSwanda was scheduled to perform in the color guard. After LaSwanda woke up from a nap and prepared to get herself ready, Shy'Kemmia's nickname, was not at their home. She was last seen playing a few houses down on Cumpler Street. So LaSwanda decided to fill up her car with gas, accompanied by a friend, and then pick up her sister on the way back. She even waved to Shy as she passed by. After running her errand, LaSwanda returned, but her little sister was nowhere to be found. The family believed that Shy got a ride with someone else to the game. However, when she was not present at the football game, her mother Veronica called the authorities for help. The police told Veronica and the family that they couldn't report Shy'Kemmia missing until 24 hours had passed. This wasn't true. Because of the delay in the investigation, which began 14 hours later, crucial time had passed. Although leads and tips were plentiful, Shy'Kemmia has not been seen or heard from since. Shy'Kemmia was last seen playing across the street from a place called Roxy's Club, a high crime area known for its drug dealing. You would see regular card games being played outside and shady characters hanging around, yet everyone in the neighborhood knew each other. No one was a stranger. Neighbors formed a search party, but unfortunately several areas were destroyed or compromised that were later searched by investigators. Dooley County Sheriff Randy Lambert said, "We did ground searches, we did air searches, we had track dogs come in, we had cadaver dogs come in for weeks. Weeks after trying, we decided to just go back and retract everything." Investigators theorized that Shy'Kemmia knew the person who was responsible for her disappearance and abduction. Family members were questioned repeatedly, but were ruled out as persons of interest. Adding to the concern about Shy'Kemmia's disappearance was her health issues. The little girl lived with several illnesses, including severe asthma, a kidney that was underdeveloped, and a weak bladder. It's reported that not long before she went missing, Shy'Kemmia Pate suffered an asthma attack that landed her in the hospital, and she required at-home breathing treatments. Because of her bladder issues, Shy'Kemmia wore pull-up diapers, and she had a displaced kneecap that required her to wear a leg brace. While the residents of Unadilla were familiar with the ongoing search, there wasn't much media attention from outside the small town. Her family believes that had she been a white child or had come from a family with financial resources, Shy'Kemmia's case would have received more exposure. Decades later, Shy'Kemmia's loved ones have done their best to keep this story alive. In an interview, Veronica Pate said, "I slept in a chair at my front door for 2 years without going to bed, with the door unlocked, thinking that my baby was just going to walk in one day, but she ain't walked in." The family continues to keep her name alive through walks and interviews, and most recently this year, a balloon release on the date that she went missing. Veronica said, "I just want the community to help celebrate us looking for her, that she is still being searched for and not forgotten. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation as of to date still have no leads." Shy's mother describes her daughter as an active child who was full of life. She liked to sing in the church choir, dance, ride her bike, and perform sweet gestures for her mother. At the time of her disappearance on September 4th, 1998, at 7 p.m., Shy'Kemmia Pate stood 4 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 59 pounds. She had brown eyes, black dark brown hair braided with extensions, shoulder length, twirled in the front with gold beads. She had complex medical needs and an identifiable surgical scar along her waistline from kidney surgery. Shy'Kemmia was last seen wearing a neon green button-up Atlanta Braves jersey, dark blue-black jeans, and white K-Swiss tennis shoes. Shy'Kemmia would be 33 years old this year. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Shy'Kemmia Pate, please contact the Dooley County Sheriff Department at 229-645-0920, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation at 478-987-6606 or 987-4545, the GBI tip line at 1-800-597-TIPS or their local authorities. The agency case number is 980-9808.
That was so powerful.
Isn't she just beautiful, that little girl, and so sad? That,
Very.
yeah, not to get, yeah, go on.
As a mother, it nearly tore my heart out to hear her mother talk about waiting by the door all night in the chair with the door unlocked.
Wow.
I could feel it so powerfully.
Yeah.
Poor woman. And to feel that nobody is looking for her.
Correct. And I must state that to give credit where credit is due, that a lot of the information that I received came from several sources, which is ourblackgirls.com. They're doing a fabulous job spotlighting and focusing on missing Black girls, children. Also, missingkids.org and CNN and the Washington Post. So I want to state that. And I want to say that there is a $20,000 reward for help in finding Shy'Kemmia. By the way, just want to let you know that. But what's really stuck out with me is the statistics of racial disparities of missing children. And according to the report, in 2020, there were 433,018 missing persons. Okay? 59% of them are white who get reported, and that includes Hispanic. Only 37% of minorities are reported in the media. Wow. So over 145,467 missing children, they are under the age of 18. That's huge.
That's huge.
Enormous.
And quite underreported. So, so Asia, I know, like, you and I have talked about this. We all have talked about this, at the beginning of the show. So, so I'm going to throw this out as to why there's such disparities in the media. Why do you think that they are? I know what they are, but what do you think they are?
In my opinion, when people go missing, there's an automatic bias for these children that, they're runaways, or there's a problem there. Maybe there's something happening within the family, like a drug use or things like that, or the child, the young person may be having some kind of problems like that. A lot of this is their trauma. It's really important that all of us make these children matter. It's not just, they all must matter, and they all need to get out there, and we have to insist. This is something that that we as a society can do.
There's a desensitization and stereotyping.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because if you look at, when we the PowerPoint presentation, and one of the things is that, they come from poverty, they're poor, they're this and that. So there's kind of this, so there's this whole thing of, they're poor, the kid ran away, like you said, and even if they are, just always running away from home, still that's somebody's child, they're missing.
Somebody's baby.
Yeah, they're missing. So if you have any information, as stated on the presentation, please, and you can go to our website. We will have Shy'Kemmia in our spotlight section, and you can read
or
more
on
about
our
it.
Facebook.
And on our Facebook, on
Absolutely.
our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So please do. We're going to have a list of cases that are out there of missing people. And what we're doing, we are spotlighting one for each show, but there's a lot more out, and definitely check on our Facebook page.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's right. Because we can be a voice individually. That's what our goal here is, and what we're doing with this program. We're having a little bit of fun with the psychic detective work and working with that. But it's also about putting the focus where it needs to go. If it's not going to happen in the greater media, then we, the people, as a voice, can have a lot of power to get those children out there and these young people, and have their faces be seen and have their families be heard.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We want to take this time just to say thank you for joining us, listening to us, watching us on YouTube. If you are on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on every time that we post a new show. And don't forget, our next show is going to be the continuation of the Beaumont Children. But on behalf of Jeane and Asia and myself, we definitely want to say thank you for being a part of this show. And I just want to leave you with this. Our loved ones are never truly lost, only hidden from our sight. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
If you have any information regarding a missing or murder case, contact your local authorities. Join us again next time on Looking for the Lost. Our theme music is written by Lynn Willever.